Welcome in everyone to Cash That Ticket podcast here on the Straight Outta Vegas AM feed. Monday, June 29th, 2026, here to get into a new week of baseball betting. And of course, we'll get into our next NFL win total for the NFL season. We'll talk about the Indianapolis Colts today, and we'll break down a few of the MLB games happening here on Monday. But honestly, ready to get this month over with because it hasn't been very pretty, I'll say the least, at least for myself to close out the month here. But um, Goldfish memory, I guess we always say, and just staying true to our process. So we'll try to keep it positive here. But of course, joining me as always to help me break everything down happening in the sporting world, I got Uncle Diamond Dave Essler here with me. Uncle Dave, how's it going today, sir?
Well, yeah, I'm ready to get the month over with. I mean, it hasn't been my finest hour. I mean, I swept yesterday, but um, it's been it's been a struggle. It's especially baseball. We're talking mainly, and I had a day. I think Saturday was I lost on like errors, walks, balks, and wild pitches.
Yeah.
Um, like and it happens, right? But it seems like I've been on the wrong end of those most all month, and I know the work's good; it'll even itself out. But I mean, it's always tough to go through these things. You just have to trust the process of what's worked for in my case, a long time,
Yeah.
and hope better results. I mean, it sucks for the people that came on board for the month of July. I'm not going to lie, but June. I'm trying to get rid of June before it's time. But yeah, I mean, I'm good. Ready to rock it today.
Well, I was kind of saying I had these conversations with, some of the other hosts around pregame is that sometimes the best time to get in for clients is when we're in our rough patch because we know we're going to get out of it and get on a little bit of a hot streak or at least stay more consistent than what's transpired over the last couple of weeks here. It's funny because the last I was like I had lost like 4 out of 5, and I know we're ranting here and getting it out here where sometimes it's good for our health to get it out. Um, I had the Twins team total over I had given out, and then the bullpen. I forgot who they were playing. Was it the Rocky? Yeah, the Rockies. Um, Gave up 3 in the bottom of the ninth. There, that one got me to the window. And then there was another game I had the over in. The Rangers and the Blue Jays on Friday. The bullpen came in and it got me to the over. And long story short, yesterday I gave out the Mariners and the Guardians under heading into I think the bottom of the ninth. There it was 4-1 or 4-2, something of that nature. Looked like it was gonna get under, but then the bullpen, makes it go the other way. So those are just the ebbs and flows of baseball betting. And also, Uncle Dave last night, I had the under 8 in the Red Sox and the Yankees game. It was
Yeah,
2-0 heading into the top of the ninth there. And then, it was a 5-4 victory for the Red Sox as they was a 4 game sweep there for the Red Sox there. So
yes,
good for
it
them.
was.
Awesome
Yes, it
there.
was.
But yeah, again, we'll turn the page here. We'll start the bitching and complaining here. And we'll get back to our process and back to our winning ways here. So let's turn the page. Let's get into it here for the Monday card. We'll talk about 4 or 5 games here on the Monday card. And let's start here with the Battle of Pennsylvania. I think it is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're in Philadelphia to take on the Phillies here today on Monday. It'll be Braxton Ashcraft getting the start here for the Pirates. It'll be Aaron Nola for the Phillies. Phillies are a minus 112 home favorite. Odds courtesy of DraftKings. Very so slightly are they favored. Minus 108 for the Pirates. And this one, Uncle Dave, total is sitting at 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, this one's pretty simple for me. I mean, if I'd have told you that the Phillies would open as slight home dogs to the Pirates this year with anyone but Paul Skeens pitching, you'd probably thought I was crazy. Yet here we are. Although there's some movement back towards the Phillies, but 90% of the money and two-thirds of the tickets are on the Pirates, and I have to say I agree. I mean, the Phillies have won 5 of 6, but they've been giving up runs, so that also means they've been scoring. I may look at the over, but what I do know is that there's zero doubt in my mind who is the better starting pitcher. I mean, Nola's already given up 17 home runs this season. Ashcraft sitting along with a season ERA just over 3, WHIP just over 1. So I can only do one thing here, and that's take the Pirates in the first 5 innings. And I'm tempted to look at their team total over as well. As I said, the Phillies been giving up runs, and the weather is reasonably conducive to runs being scored. So Pirates first 5 over. I've been Pirates first five and maybe team total over Munaf.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. It's again 7 starts for Nola at home this season, 0-1 with a 5.82 ERA, 22 earned runs he's given up in just 34 innings pitched there in the city of brotherly love. Braxton Ashcraft comes into pretty good form here, at least over his last 3 starts. He's only allowed 4 earned runs in about 17 innings pitched there for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I do think, and again, we know the Phillies can score runs, but can they get to Braxton Ashcraft here? I do think they can get a couple off of him here. So I think the first 5 inning over 4.5 would be a look. I wouldn't be opposed to a full game over in this game here as well. Um, we're starting to see some of these pitchers that had a great month of May, guys like the Christopher Sanchez's of the world, that really regressed in the month of June here. And I think Ashcraft is a candidate for that, maybe in his last start here in the month of June, if not, maybe the next month in July there. But yeah, I can't put my money on Nola, especially the form that he's been in this season. So I think you're right. Well, let's see. For sure, runs from the Pirates side in this one, and then I think Phillies can contribute and we get over the total in this one between the Pirates and the Phillies. Next game we'll get to here, Uncle Dave. Let's go over to the Detroit Tigers. They are going to be in Yankee Stadium here tonight to take on those Yankees. Casey Mize getting the start here for the Tigers, and it'll be Ryan Weathers for the Yankees. Yankees are a minus 138 home favorite, plus 114 on the money line for the Detroit Tigers. So on this one, Uncle Dave sitting at 8.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we could take the lazy way out and just fade the Sunday night team. That would be the Yankees, who
Mhm.
lost in extra innings last night. Were actually swept 4 games by the Red Sox. I mean, that can't feel good for them at all. And we got a recent rematch going on here, right? I mean, Weathers just pitched against the Tigers in Detroit and won. It was a good start for him, uh, and it was for the most part the first time the Tigers had seen him. So he only allowed 1 earned run, and I'd like to think the Tigers make some adjustments and score here. They put up a ton of runs against the Astros over the weekend, so they're in pretty good form at the plate. That and the fact that Weathers can be a fly ball pitcher. I mean, I'd like to think Mize has a better outing than he did. He pitched against the Yankees last week, different game. So I lean Tigers. I mean, put it this way: I can't take the Yankees after what they didn't do in Boston for 4 games, and
Yeah.
more specifically last night's late inning meltdown. I mean, right? They went ahead in the top of the 10th and gave up 3 in the bottom of the 10th. I mean, I could also make the case, I think, for the Tigers team total over. The weather looks like a decent cross breeze from right to left. It could help. It's not going to hurt. Um, I think the one thing we don't know, which is important for me anyway, is who's behind the plate, right? It's the first game of the series. So those, umpires aren't out till very, very late. Second, third, fourth game, you can always just see who was behind the plate last night, or who was on first is going to be this week. So I like the Tigers here, and I'm going to wait the team total out and see probably who's behind the plate. But I can't take the Yankees, so by default, it kind of has to be Detroit. I think Mize had a relatively difficult start against him last week, but his numbers on the season are obviously they kind of they're pretty telling. They're pretty good. So I think maybe that was the outlier. I'll take Detroit and probably their team total over as well.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I mentioned this last week when I think we were talking about obviously some of the Yankees games that the offense is really hard to trust right now, especially when you don't have Aaron Judge in there. And we saw prior to that ninth inning last night on Sunday Night Baseball that maybe they had a combined 4 hits in the past, I think it was 17 innings
Right.
there, yeah, for the New York Yankees. So, I mean, maybe that gets cured going back to Yankee Stadium, but I'm not sure I can get there. Again, like you mentioned, Casey Mize. Um, he's been okay, I guess we can say. Just over his last 2 starts, been a little bit inconsistent where he has allowed 7 earned runs. The Yankees did get 4 off of him in the last start back on Tuesday, but I mean the season long numbers look really good for him, right? 2.95 ERA, a whip that's just above 1 at 1.07. And again, I need to see it from the Yankees offense before I can back them. And Ryan Weathers, prior to his last start against the Tigers, the Yankees had lost 4 straight starts that he had made. So I think first 5 innings team total over for the Tigers. As you mentioned, they were able to hit the Astros pitching over the weekend series there. So I think there's a good spot here at plus money odds for the Tigers and their first 5 innings team total to go over. Then probably is going to be at 2.5 there for the Detroit Tigers. Let's get over to the next game. We'll get to the other New York team, the New York Mets, who did fire their manager, Carlos Mendoza, over the weekend there. They are going to be north of the border to take on the Jays. Sean Manaea going to start here for the Mets, and it'll be Trey Yesavage for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are a minus 126 home favorite, plus 105 on the money line for the New York Mets. Total on this one, Uncle Dave, is sitting at it's hovering between a heavy juiced over 8.5 and 9 at minus 118 on the under.
Yeah, tough one here. I mean, to be honest, I'm a little surprised Yesavage and the Jays were that cheap. So maybe a bit of a yellow flag. I mean, Manaea's solid, but it's the Mets, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they've lost 4 or 5. You mentioned it. They fired their manager. They're 14 games under 500. So, where is the redeeming quality? But, Toronto's under 500. They've lost 6 straight at home. So, I mean, there's no doubt the better starter here and the more trusted starter I can trust is Yesavage. But he's had a few rough games. But again, recently it was the second of a rematch, one against the Yankees. First game he shut them out on 2 hits in 8 innings. The adjustments get made, they kill him. So I'll continue to beat that horse. I mean, it's not nothing. I seem to mention it 3 times a week, but it's a real deal. Um, and I kind of expect him to have the upper hand for the first 5 innings. I mean, I look at Manaea, and he's cost me so much money betting on and betting against him. So we got two woeful teams, right? But I got to pick one since you put it on the list. I mean, honestly, I really want to take this under because I just don't know where the runs are going to come from. The total opened 8.5, juiced under. Most of the market agreeing with me with terms of tickets and money. Now it's juiced fairly heavy over, and a couple of books have gone to 9. So I think if some reason it gets to 9, I like the under there. I have to check and see roof situation and weather in Toronto. That's a park that the ball does really fly out of there with the roof open. But again, we got two good pitchers, so I won't overreact to that. But I think I would take the under at 9 and probably Toronto in the first 5, only because they're the home team. Really, I mean, I don't trust either of them. I don't know how you can.
Yeah, again, it's really tough to trust the Mets, especially how their season has unraveled here for this team. And for the Blue Jays, as I mentioned, this is one team this season that I just haven't been able to figure out whether it's been their pitching or more importantly, I think it's been at least for me, if they've been able to hit the baseball or not. So yeah, Sean Manaea coming off of a start against the Cubs there. He only lasted 3 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks in that one. But prior to that, I mean, he's giving up at least 2 earned runs in every single start, or at least over the last 4 starts, I should say. So we know he's going to give it up, and he's not giving them a lot of length as well as a starter. He did go 6 innings against the Braves back on June 13th, but again, that was a division opponent, so maybe has some familiarity there. Um, but again, I mean, you look at his season numbers, right? 1.41 whip on the season thus far. And the question then does become, can Toronto take advantage of that? Doesn't give up a whole heck of a lot of walks, but it seems like he is giving up the contact, to the opposition there, Uncle Dave. So if anything, I would look at maybe the Blue Jays in the first 5 innings in this game. Don't love it. As you mentioned, this was one of the tougher games on the schedule there. So Blue Jays first 5 innings would be my look here for the Mets and the Jays. Let's get to a couple more here before we do get into some NFL talk. Let's get over to um, last game of the night. The Dodgers. They are going to be in West Sacramento to take on the A's. It'll be Eric Lauer for the Dodgers, and it'll be Gage Jump for the A's there. A's are a minus 105 home underdog, minus 114 for the Dodgers. To win this one, Uncle Dave sitting at a whopping 10.5.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've either got what, a gift horse or a Trojan horse, right? I mean, the Dodgers only minus 115 ish against the Athletics. I mean, that's interesting. I followed every jump start, pun intended there actually, and he hasn't really faced a good hitting team yet. I mean, But his numbers are hard to ignore. No home runs allowed in 36 innings, and two of them in this park. And we got the summertime weather pattern with a big wind blowing out tonight. I mean, that to me, that's the only reason this total's sitting at 10.5. I mean, Lauer just kind of no hit the Twins for 6 innings, but he's Eric Lauer, right? I mean, the kid had an ERA of 6.69 with Toronto this year, and maybe he's reborn with the Dodgers. I mean, but I certainly can't trust a guy that's on his fourth team in 6 years and pitching in this park. I mean, he's typically not a big strikeout pitcher. He kind of pitches to contact, and I say all that to say that I'm not averse to taking the A's in the first 5 innings, but they went a little chilly at the plate over the weekend. So what I think I like here is better is the under, maybe in the first five. I mean, jump start should have the advantage early. And if you have DK, DraftKings, they actually have a first 3 inning bet. I would probably do that. And I say that knowing that I keep waiting because Jump wasn't elite at AAA in Vegas this year at all. I mean, he wasn't really even good. So I think at some point he's going to have kind of quote unquote one of those games. I don't know that this is it, but I'm not going to just jump, pun intended, on the A's here. I think I would take the under because, I mean, the only reason it's 10.5 is the weather. Nothing else says that many runs, and both of them do tend to be ground ball pitchers. So I would take the under.
Surprisingly, Eric Lauer's actually been pretty good. I mean, there was really one direction for him to go with his days when he was with Toronto, but since he's come over to the Dodgers, he's actually been in pretty good form. Hasn't allowed more than I'll say this. He's made one, two, three, four, 5 appearances for the Dodgers. The last game was against the Twins in Minnesota. I think there was an opener for him, and then he came in and pitched 6 innings for the Dodgers. But he hasn't allowed more than 4 earned runs or more than 3 earned runs in any of those appearances there. Last start was against, or last appearance, I should say, against the Twins, 6 shutout innings. Didn't allow a hit in that game. And over his last 2 appearances for the Dodgers, he's only allowed, let's see, 3 earned runs and 6 hits on 12 innings pitched there. So could this be a regression candidate? It's possible, especially like you mentioned with the weather being a factor in this game. But I need to see it before I can back them. So, um, but this is the ultimate test for Jump, right? You're going up against one of the better, if not the best, offense, at least from 1 to 9 as far as depth goes. I also did see Teoscar Hernandez did get activated off the IL for this Dodgers team, so getting another bat back in that lineup there. Well, Kyle Tucker has just been absolutely atrocious thus far for this Dodgers team, but um, yeah, I would look at the A's here until we do see at least Jump getting to some trouble here. Could be against the Dodgers here tonight, and I'll be eating my words when we come back on the pod tomorrow there. But this is going to be the public play of the day. The Dodgers at a cheap price, where you're probably not going to see them around this price very often throughout the season there. So I would go with the A's here in this matchup, at least in the first 5 innings for this game here tonight. All right, so those were the games that I wanted to get to here, Uncle Dave. Anything that's caught your eye outside of the games that we just talked about, or are we ready to talk some football?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of games that I like today, but I don't like them enough to bet them. I'm being patient. I mean, I think the under in the Cubs game is probably a winner. It's 11. It was 12. Sorry about that. But the market, tickets, money, weather, everything says lots of runs in Chicago. I tend to think not. Griffin Canning's better than advertised. Cubs can't hit. Padres can't hit. So I kind of like the under in that one. I'm looking at the White Sox and the Orioles. Shane Baz is a guy that I put him on the Sean Manaea list of people that always hurt me because I kind of like the White Sox team total over. What else haven't we talked about? Seattle and the Angels. The kid Johnson that's pitching for the Angels has been pretty pathetic. I kind of want to take the over there. George Kirby is not ideal, and as I mention all the time, when better than average pitchers get beat, it's usually by someone that knows him. They're in the same division. Um, I Miles, my boy Miles for the Nationals. I mean, he's pitched amazing in the last 5 games, and I kind of put him on the sooner or later list. I wish the Red Sox didn't have that big game, and maybe a letdown from the Yankees series. The market's kind of thinking maybe Washington plus the run line might be viable. Leery though, but that's the only bet I could make there. I mean, the Washington saw plenty of Suarez when he was with the Phillies, so tough call there. But yeah, that's about all I got, bro.
All right, we'll put a pin in that for the MLB. Let's get into our next team on our NFL win totals that we'll be talking about on every single pod until we get through all of them. And today we'll talk about those Indianapolis Colts who come into this season with a win total of 7.5, some juice on the over at minus 130 for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm trying to pull up the numbers from and their record from last season here. Let's go to standings. So, of course, in the AFC South, this Indianapolis Colts team that got off to a really good start last season, Uncle Dave, but it's got into trouble in the second half of the year, more so due to an injury, of course, to Daniel Jones. But they finished the year with a record of 8-9. They were pretty good at home, 6-3 straight up. It was where the road they got into trouble and in the division. So they were only 2-6 on the road last year, with a division record of 2-4. They lost their final 7 games of the season. So this was a team that was 8-2, and they lost their last 7 games. And as I mentioned, a lot of that had to do with the injuries that they did have at the quarterback position. So, Daniel Jones had gone off to a really good start, suffered the season ending injury. They brought in Philip Rivers out of retirement. It was a good, I don't want to say publicity stunt, but I guess it was a good story. Had Riley Leonard in there for a couple games there as well, but the really story was of how good Jonathan Taylor was once again for this Indianapolis Colts team. But Uncle Dave, they come into this season, looking to build off of what started the season last year for them, right? Through, like I mentioned, the first 10 games, they were 8-2. They're in a division it's doable. I'll say that. Obviously, with the Texans, questions on the offensive side. Jacksonville, can they repeat their success from last season under Liam Cohen? And we just talked about the Tennessee Titans here as well on the last pod there. But what are your thoughts on this Indianapolis Colts team going into next year with a win total of 7.5?
Well, like a lot of these teams that we've talked about, they're we're starting at the bottom and working up, right? I guess that's been your plan. Um, but they're at the bottom typically for a reason, and it's quarterbacks. And obviously, Jones had a pretty serious injury, and he says he thinks he'll be back by week one. Well, he probably will be, but he thinks he will be back. I mean, usually the players out there saying, "I'll be back, I'm ready," and if for some reason he's not, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, that leaves him with Anthony Richardson. That's a problem. Leonard Riley and Easton Stick. So I think their season goes on Daniel Jones. I mean, obviously Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league, and he's going to be the focal point of the offense. Their offensive line is actually pretty good. They're one of the better offensive lines in the league. I don't know in terms of Jones's weapons. I'm not. I mean, Alec Pierce is pretty good, but they got that undrafted kid from Miami, Westbrook Ekine, and Josh Downs. I mean, who's going to now Tyler Warren? Actually, I like Tyler Warren at tight end. He would
Yeah.
he would be a great fantasy pickup. Maybe not a lot of people know who he is, but I just don't know that they have the weapons on the outside. I don't know that they don't, but again, it all goes back to Jones. And on defense, I mean, they lost some edge rushers, but they picked up about one by a free agent and draft some cornerbacks, which they need. But if they're gonna not get a pass rush, they're not gonna win a lot of games. Now, I do like the fact that they only won 8 games last year, and that total is what did you say it was 7.5? I kind of like the over, and that is obviously all predicated on Daniel Jones. And unfortunately, this is a win total that might look ugly early. Okay, they may beat the Dolphins in week one. and then you're all happy, right? But then they go to Jacksonville. They get the Titans at home. They may win that one, but they got a brutal stretch in the middle. They play Kansas City, Baltimore. They're at your Texans. They get the Giants at home, who are going to be obviously improved with some guys coming back from injury. Steelers, Bengals, at Washington, and so they're not going to look pretty, heading into probably November. It's going to come down to the last 3 weeks of the season. They get your Texans at home. They get the Dolphins at home. They go at the Titans. Now, I think it's going to come down to uh, they're going to have to win two of those three games, and I think they will. So I'm going to take the over. I mean, I don't. I live in Jacksonville or near it, and I'm familiar with them, and I just don't know that they're ever going to take that leap to a consistent contender. I don't know why. Maybe it's Trevor Lawrence. Maybe it's the coaching. I don't know. Your Texans are going to be better, no doubt about that. The Titans are not. We already talked about them. So I think they can maybe split some of those games in their division, and they've got winnable games outside. I'm gonna take the over. I mean, I think it's a tougher schedule than average, and probably one that they don't really deserve based on last year's record. If I'm a Colts fan, I'm not overly happy about that. But I think it's all going to come down to. I mean, they could go 9-8 and perhaps sneak in as a playoff team. So I'm kind of higher on the Colts than maybe most people are. But again, it all comes down to Daniel Jones. And if he's not healthy in week one, I retract everything I just said.
Yeah, I mean, just doing obviously a quick Google search, it does, coming off the torn right Achilles, and also was dealing with that fractured left fibula. But it did say that he's been fully participating in 7-on-7 drills and OTAs. Obviously, that's a little bit lighter. The expectation is that he is going to be ready for week one. But we take a look at the first 4 weeks of the schedule, right? You mentioned, right? They have the Ravens. They go to Kansas City. We'll see if that's with or without Patrick Mahomes. They have Texans at home in week three. And then they go across the pond to play the Commanders in the international game. And then there's no bye week in between that. And then they come back. They go to Pittsburgh, and then from week five against Pittsburgh all the way to week eight, three of those four games are going to be on the road there. So that's going to be a tough
Right.
stretch there, right? So especially when you're coming back from across the pond and then going on the road to Pittsburgh, home for Tennessee, and then to Minnesota, which is always a tough place to play. You talk about home field advantage and things like that. And as you mentioned, excuse me, they have Jacksonville in week eight in Jacksonville there. So well, I think we'll learn a lot about this team within those first, 4 to 5 weeks there here. But again, when you have Jonathan Taylor in your backfield there, and they always have one of the better offensive lines as well, I do think that Daniel Jones will be ready in week one. I wish they had picked up some more help as far as the wide receiving group does go. But I think, like you mentioned the one name that is going to be very fantasy relevant this year is Tyler Warren, and he was last year prior to the Daniel Jones injury there. So they're well coached. They got off to an 8-2 start last year. Of course, the second half of the season with the injuries and the schedule getting a little bit tougher for them last year was really the demise of this team. But I think they get off to a good start again. I think this will be a team just based off of what I've seen in the division. Obviously, me be familiar with it. That it is up for grabs there. Even though if Houston is favored or whoever might be, but um, I think they can get to 8 wins here. Wouldn't be surprised, as you mentioned, if they do get to 9-8 and are able to get a wild card spot, especially with the expanded, playoff seedings that's there in the NFL. So, yeah, with all that being said, over 7.5 for the Colts here. And again, when you talk about fantasy relevance, Jonathan Taylor had a great season last year. Can he duplicate what he did last year? Absolutely. That's the type of player that can. And then you mentioned Tyler Warren there as well. And Daniel Jones, prior to his injury, I mean, he was looking as a really really good fantasy quarterback. I know I had him on as my quarterback prior to his injury as my starting quarterback on my fantasy team there, and he was really really good. So if he's able to, I don't say duplicate the success, but maybe get 70-80% of what he was doing in that first half of the season, I think this team is going to be okay. So over 7.5 for me as well for the Colts going into next year. Any closing thoughts on the Colts here, Uncle Dave?
No, I mean, I think we covered all the bases. It's again, it just boils down to how Daniel Jones is going to respond.
Yeah.
And of course, a little bit on their defense. I mean, but I think their defense will be okay. I definitely I don't see them going under, but I definitely think it's going to be a struggle. They're not gonna win 11, annihilate it, and make us look really good here. Not in that division.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they did give up those two first round picks for Sauce Gardner last year. Now having a full off season and practice and OTAs and training camp with the defense there, I think that he has to have a big year for this Colts team as far as the defense goes next season. All right, before we do get to best bets for this episode, just want to remind everybody get over there pregame.com. Use that promo code BAT15, BAT15 over at pregame.com. Get $15 off of anything over at pregame.com with this daily best bet package, a weekender, a 30-day all access package, whatever your heart desires from your favorite pregame pro. If you want to support the podcast here, want to support Uncle Dave, want to support myself, or any other pregame pro over at pregame.com. Do us a favor, make sure you use that promo code BAT15, BAT15. Again, get $15 off of anything over there at pregame.com. All right, last order of business, Uncle Dave. Let's close out the month strong. We got 2 days left here. Let's make the most of it. Let's get into our best bets here. I'll let you lead it off. Where are you taking us?
Pirates first 5 innings. I already kind of beat that to death, and Nola giving up 17 home runs, not ideal. They have the better starter. Ashcraft has been borderline elite. He will be on the All-Star team, I'm sure. And the Phillies have been winning, but they've been giving up runs while they've been doing it. And I think Ashcraft shuts them down, and the Pirates have the lead after 5 innings.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. We broke that one down extensively. So I do think that's a good opportunity here for the Pirates here today against the Phillies. For my best bets, or best bet, I should say, I'm going to go to the last game of the night. I'm going to take the A's in the first 5 innings behind jump. I think this is the trap line of the week, or not of the week, of the day, I should say. I think the public will see the casual bettors. The Dodgers, hey, I'm only minus 115 here. And I think that Eric Lauer is a regression candidate here, especially on the road where he's, had some struggles, whether he was with the Blue Jays or now with the Dodgers here, of course. And I think this is going to be a good test here for a jump that, we talked about today and on prior pods that we'll find out if he's for real or not. I think that despite what you mentioned his numbers when he was, in the minor leagues, him coming up, I guess it seems like it's really benefited him, for this eighth pitching rotation there. So I think we'll find out in the first couple innings that if he's really able to settle in, that he could get at least a lead here for the A's and at least guide them through the first 5 innings. I'll take that to the bank here for the A's. I see a minus 120 right now for the Oakland A's, the West Sacramento, Vegas, whatever you want to call them, A's against the Dodgers. First 5 innings money line here tonight as my best bet. All right, that's going to do it here for this edition of the Cash That Ticket podcast on the Straight Outta Vegas AM feed. Uncle Dave, anything else you need to mention or want to mention to our loyal listeners before we get our Monday rolling?
Well, maybe Malik Beasley, if you're an NBA fan, if you haven't blown that off.
Ha, yes, I did see that news
Yeah,
about Malik Beasley and how
indicted
he,
indicted for punch shaving and prop bets. I
yeah.
mean, you got to wonder if he already had legal troubles before, right? I mean, he was arrested for weed, concealing stolen property, had a firearm. I think he did a little jail time. But you had to wonder. I guess this was an ongoing investigation, but
Mhm.
he went from losing sixth man of the year to Peyton Pritchard to signing with a team in Puerto Rico owned by Bad Bunny and couldn't make that team. I think he got released. So you got to think that he probably knew the handwriting was on the wall. But I just continuously shake my head at these kids. I mean, he was a first round draft pick for the Nuggets way back when, and
Yeah.
just But again, he went to FSU, and they kind of got a history of maybe not having the best character players. But yeah, shame on him for that. I'm glad they're doing. I don't know what they're going to do. I guess they'd have to throw him in jail at this point because they might as well. They can't suspend him. He's not even playing anymore. But yeah, that's my news for the day.
Yeah, the official report, we'll wrap it up with this from Shump, says that 9-year veteran Malik Beasley has been indicated on federal charges for gambling related to sports betting schemes such as point shaving and prop bets. His attorney, Steve Haney, tells ESPN the government is coordinating a voluntary surrender of Beasley this week. So we'll see what transpires for Malik Beasley and his future as far as, whether it's jail time, prison, whatever it's going to be. But it's just unfortunate here. But there's a lot of NBA news coming down. Maybe, if there's, like usually a Thursday where it's slower in the MLB. I know we didn't even get to talk about the Giannis trade that did transpire. So, we'll work in some NBA here, but more importantly, look at the betting markets and how it's been reflected here. Uncle Dave, I will say this. I have put down a future NBA bet on a champion, and maybe this is just me falling for rumors and noise and things like that, but I did get down on 75 to 1, or sorry, 65 to 1 on the Warriors to win the championship next year based off of number one, their pursuit for LeBron with Steph Curry and them trying to trade Jimmy Butler to the Wizards for Anthony Davis and forming a new big four there. So, if I end up with a CLV trophy, that doesn't pay much, but I'll celebrate that if that ever does transpire as we get into free agency for the NBA season. So I'll leave it at that. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for the pod. We'll tackle our next team, and I'll go ahead and give you guys the teaser for it, and also give Uncle Dave the team that we'll talk about tomorrow, so we can both start doing our homework. And that'll be the one Washington Commanders of the NFC East, who also have a win total of 7.5 for this upcoming season. So we'll talk about the Commanders tomorrow. We'll get into some more baseball, and we'll rock it and hopefully close out the month strong as far as our best bets do go. Till then. Enjoy the games all day. We got Wimbledon going on. We got World Cup knockout stage starting. Of course, we got baseball here tonight, so it'll keep us entertained all throughout the day. Be responsible, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.